guys.
Welcome back.
Everybody. No,
Welcome back.
so okay, we're at episode 11. What you say?
Hi, everyone. Okay, sorry.
We are at episode 11 where they meet the friend. What was it? Meet the family? It was Meet the Family, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it sure
you know,
was.
I want you to give a recap, but I just have to say that just like after watching the show, like I don't know, maybe I have to go back and watch it again. It was a little lackluster in the beginning for me.
Mm,
And then I didn't really get into it until Quentin and Lee went on their date. And then that's when it started to be like, okay, let me pay more attention to it or whatever. But anyway, so give a recap so we can like hit some of the points because I don't know what else you want to talk about, but I definitely want to talk about Phil and Aries, and I
for
definitely want to talk
sure.
about Lee self-eliminating.
Yeah, okay. All right. So let's jump right in. Now, I don't remember, and I knew I should number my cards because I don't remember which order this went in, but I think I kept it in order. So I think the show started off with Quentin and Lee meeting his cousin. Meeting Quentin's cousin, whose name was like
Antoinette or something like that.
Darius. His name was Darius.
Oh, wait. Hold up. Who had the Antoinette cousin?
That's
Marie.
that's
I'm jumping
Morier.
ahead,
Yeah.
guys.
So
Yes. Okay. Darius.
Quentin and Lee go on the date with his cousin as the third person, and she talked about how looks basically attracted them, and they have a lot in common. And he talked about how much of a sweet person she was. It's interesting though that we didn't see any of those earlier on dates. I'm thinking that the idea for the storyline was that we would see some of them at the end, so maybe we didn't need to see the beginning. But I would be very curious as to how those dates went. Like you can kind of see Quentin and Janelle's attraction and sort of like banter back and forth, but we haven't gotten a chance to see that with Lee. Like Lee and
well, I think let me interject
Quentin.
really quick because you said something yesterday that I was like I didn't consider, or maybe it was the day before, but you were saying that maybe they took the footage that they had and worked backwards. And if they did, that definitely makes sense because they wouldn't include any of the dates with Lee because it didn't matter because she self-eliminated, which is crazy because we want to the other way. So
that would make sense because we wouldn't be able to see what we are naturally wanting to see, but we would be able to see the storyline. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, well, if we're gonna build this storyline up to end this way, then all this other stuff in the beginning doesn't even really matter. Because in the beginning, it's like our nature as viewers is that we want to get to know people. We want to see what this person is about. Oh, they have a connection. What's that about? Right? But we weren't ever getting to see that. And now it's making sense to me because it's like, oh, you guys are trying to get us to see whatever you saw. Right. And that probably started from the fact that you knew you had all the footage before the reunion. Like this is, I'm sorry, I'm building a conspiracy theory, but it's really weird because it's like, who does that? Like you got the reunion already booked before people see the shows. Like, what are they reacting to? What is it a reunion from? Like they were just
and how long was it?
How long was
stopped filming until they did the reunion?
Because if you think about what reunion actually means, it's like, oh, we've been apart for some time and now we're reuniting. But if it's like 3 weeks after filming wrapped, what are you talking? This isn't a reunion.
Yeah, that question's probably going to be asked in some of the post interviews, so that's one to look out for. But yeah, so that when I saw that, that made sense to me. I was like, okay, all right, because he did say she was sweet. He kept saying that. He said it a couple of times or whatever, and he looked like he was kind of blown when he found out she self-eliminated too.
Yeah, because he's probably like, why didn't she tell me that? But that was her punishment to him. Okay, we're gonna get to that. But next we see Phil and Aries. And he here's where his buzzword, his trigger word is stability. So that word keeps on coming up, and I don't think that Aries was the first person to say it, but it's so funny how all these people have these trigger words. It's like you can't say certain things. Well, now combative was different because that's like a stereotype. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not even gonna say another stereotype, but it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a clear stereotype. Like, anyone of whatever culture that someone would misuse a stereotypical word would be like, why? What does that mean? You know what I mean? So that's different with combative. But he doesn't like this word stability because it's being asked of him a lot. He says, and so you know what I thought was interesting when we met Phil's, I think it was his aunt and his cousin. When we met them, one of them asked Aries, "Is that going to be an issue for her?" Right? Or maybe they didn't ask her. I can't remember, but I just know that one of them asked.
They brought it up at some
point. Is that an issue for you? Like, because it is an issue. Right? And like, that's how I took it. Because it's just like, and he made the point of saying, like, well, I know what I've got going on, which kind of means to me that, like, I know I don't have this, right? That's what when somebody says, I know what I've got going on, it's like, well, other people probably don't, right? So that means that you're used to saying that because I know what I've got going on. Like, what have you got?
I mean, because I would think that, I don't know, I'm not him, but just looking at the situation, it's like, okay, she wasn't outright saying it to the point where he didn't even know if that's exactly what she was talking about, but he knew that's what she was talking about, right? Mm-hmm. So like, it doesn't sound like they had any in-depth conversations about what his status is, and that's probably what she was trying to figure out. Like, where are you at? You know what I mean?
What's up?
You talking about it wouldn't have been good 4 months ago. Like, how bad was it? Like, you know, was it just we're not eating out, or was it worse than that? You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the question that she was trying to look to get. I mean, the answer she was trying to look to get, but it didn't seem like it ever got addressed.
Well,
hand on.
I don't know if it was ever addressed, because then he was talking about how that was a red flag, or could be some sort of flag or notice to him to say, well, what is she really into me for, or whatever. But it's like, and then he brought up the point that, like, okay, well, whatever you experience, this was a little later in the men's lounge actually, but basically he said it on the second date with her when he was just with her, and he was like, you know, I see you pulling back. Are you pulling back? And she confirmed that she was. And it was kind of based in something that she had been through before. So now he's kind of like holding that against her a little bit, because it's like, oh, well, you're doing something to me based on what you experienced before me. And that's not cool with him. But I almost feel like it's one of those things when you feel like you might get rejected, so you automatically have your rejection ready, so that you can deliver your rejection before you get rejected, and thus winning the game. You know what I mean?
But that nobody's playing with your ass. You know what I'm saying?
But it's like interesting to me though, because I'm seeing that happen to him. He even got kind of defensive in the confessional, I felt. Now, these are my words. This is not fact, but I felt like he was in the confessional and he was basically saying, you know, well, I know what I have to offer, and if she's gonna pull back, then pull back and walk away. Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He said that if that's what you're gonna do now, like I said, like, I don't know how deep they got. Like, they were on the phone for a long time or whatever, but I just feel like, why is he talking about he doesn't know what she meant? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
And then it made me think, like, pull back from what? Did you run to? So now these are the questions that I have after the house. I always think to myself, how many of these people have been physical? Because all of those people are not, you know, abstaining. Okay.
Right.
I know that we're all adults here, people. Those people are not connecting with each other and having attractions and thinking about the future together without dipping toes. Okay.
It's so hard to figure that out anyway, because they don't stay on site, right? We would at least have some type of insinuation if they were in the same like mansion, like, right, oh, he got caught sneaking downstairs, or whatever. But it could happen with anybody, you know what I mean?
Also, and I don't know that he meant it this way, but Quentin had mentioned something about the physical attraction or whatever physical connection that he's established with Janelle. He was like, oh, it's just, and then also he got a little deeper when he talked to when he talks in the men's confessional. Anyway, okay, let me move on in order, and then we'll get there because I'm just all ahead of myself. So, Jessica and Morier. I'm sorry. I knew his name, but I couldn't read my handwriting, and I was like, "Who's Maureen?" Sorry, everybody. I really freaked out for a second. I was like, what is his name? So yeah, because I almost called him Maurice. But anyway, Morier is a very, I mean, come on, guys. It's not a common name. So, I forgot it for a split second. Morier and Jessica met up with his, I guess it was his cousin, Net. She just goes Annette as for short, but she has a longer name than that. She sat with Jessica, and I think she sat with Kat later, like the next day almost even. I don't even know, but they had on different outfits, so I'm assuming. And I think that Jessica was first. I thought it was interesting that Morier prayed over their food because then his cousin was like, "That's rare." And I was trying to figure out if she was saying that's rare for him to do that.
For him to do it, or but she did clarify a man that prays, didn't she? I felt like she clarified it.
I think she did say that. I think she was like, a man that prays, that's rare to find. And she was like, well, I've been asking him to. Like, almost like, well, yeah, that's why he's doing it, because I'm here. It's rare for you to hear him do that, right? I didn't understand that whole moment. I didn't. But I thought it was interesting nonetheless, because I was like, he's made it a point to say he's spiritual, not religious. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, why is he praying over? What is he praying? You know what I mean? Like, anyway, in that conversation, it comes out.
Hold up, though. So, like, if a person is spiritual, like, wouldn't they still pray?
I don't really know. Like, I don't understand what is meant, right? When people say spiritual, that's a whole undefined word. Everybody takes words and uses them to their understanding, but the understanding is not communicated through that word. Okay, because it's like you could say you're spiritual and mean something completely different.
It's subjective between people. Like, you could mean one thing, she could mean another thing. Because like, I don't necessarily view spiritual as like being not a person that prays or not a person that even believes in Jesus or God. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it was. When I think the difference. Well, I got to look this up now. The difference between religious and spiritual is, I'm not even going to say what I think. I'm going to look it up first.
I would say, look, we're here. I would say religious is of religion. Like, I think certain things are religious that are not even necessary. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's a religious thing that people do, going with the cadence of the practice of whatever their perception of the religion is. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's religious. Like, wearing a suit to church is religious, kind of, like, in my mind. It's just like, that's what everybody did. I don't know. It's like religious.
So, like, then if a person says I'm religious and not not spiritual, or vice versa, what are they saying? That I think it depends on the person.
It does. Oh, both of those words.
You can be religious but still not be a spiritual person. Like, if that makes sense. And that's meaning, like, I don't know. Religious is something that I feel like I want to look this up before I say it.
I have to look it up too.
So, but that's been think about, because I was like, would he not still pray? You know what I'm saying? So now I kind of question. I got to question that before I go further talking about that. But like, I would think that a spiritual person wouldn't be confined to one thing. But,
yeah.
I don't know. But that was.
I don't know either. Now I'm very confused, because you're right. It could mean so many different things. It could mean what you think it means, the exact opposite, or beyond. Like, it's so many different categories you find yourself in, because it's just like spiritual. Like, it's, I don't know, root words and all this. Now,
okay, hold on. Before we get back to your recap, I'm gonna stop interrupting you. But I wanted to shout out Miss Gingy in the chat. What's up, fourth quarter?
Hey.
And Blondie Monique.
Why can't I see the chat?
I don't know. The comments aren't coming up on there. But Miss Gingy says, what did you think of Aquanet? Was that her name, Aquanet? Okay.
Perhaps.
She said, what did you think of Aquanet saying that Jessica was a little uppity?
Yeah. That was a fun part. Okay, so I thought it was interesting, first of all, that Morier mentioned that that was like, it reminds him so much of his mom. So perhaps his mom was uppity, because when he said that comment, his cousin shook her head. Yes. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. Like, he's looking like, in that way. But I thought that was kind of like whatever Chris's ex was saying, right? Like, so somehow people don't like Jessica when they sit down with her. Like, that's the second time right there. I'm just being honest. Like, I like her.
Yeah, they didn't really like gel. Like I felt like Kat blended right in with the girl. Like she was having a really good conversation or whatever. But like I said, Jessica has one of those personalities. I'm telling you, I don't know. I could just pick it up. She has one of those personalities that I don't know. She's skilled at whatever it is she do. I can't put it into words. But not.
Well, it comes out in that conversation that Morier might not want any more kids, and Jessica's very much, wanting to have children. So he's not, that's something that's not gonna fly if one wants one thing and one wants the other. Also, when Kat got there, or not when Kat got there, but when Annette and Kat met, I thought it was interesting that Kat is like, maybe we'll have children, maybe we won't. She doesn't have any concerns. Because I don't know. I mean, not that everybody needs to have a stance on whether they want to have kids, whatever like that, but most people that I've met kind of know, like, I don't know. Sure, I know a few people who are like, I don't know. If I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of means to me, and I might be just making this something that it's not, but when someone doesn't know, right, like whether they want kids, like, I don't know, maybe that's not what she said. But I thought to myself that perhaps she doesn't know what she wants. Right? Like, not that everybody has to have a definitive answer of whether they do or not, but it just crossed my mind. It was like she didn't have any concerns. It seems like she was very like go with the flow, nonchalant, as if to say, well, sure, let's see what happens. But I find that, as you get older, you start to really be able to take a stance one way or the other. Like, this is where I am with that.
Yeah, how old is she? She's not.
I don't know. I don't even know as I say that. I'm about to find out right now.
Oh my goodness. Shout out to Blondie Monique.
She was one of the younger ones.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say she, still has time to figure that out. But shout out to Blondie Monique. She said, I didn't watch the show. I'm just leaving a baseball game. Well, be careful because it's crazy out there. But she says, Miss Gingy says, I think that religious means following a religion that's clearly different from being spiritual.
I'm getting 2 websites that are saying she's 34.
Okay, look at you. Chris's ex said that she was too loud and too much. Well, what's up? I can't talk tonight. What's up, Goody? Goody said, what these asshats was into down to the episode because I have not seen it. Basically, I was gonna say Kat. Lee self-eliminated, so now it's 3 guys. Three guys, and the 3 guys are Phil, Morier, and Quentin, which I'm just so I did not see that.
It's baffling, actually.
It's what?
When you think about it, it's kind of baffling. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the cast because, some of this, I don't know whether this is just not like the most interesting season or what, but like it kind of seems like it's being drawn on a little bit.
Yeah.
I was thinking about some of the former cast members, and I was like, dang, that was this season. I don't know if it's like I'm losing interest or it just seems like so much is happening.
But I felt that way this episode. But so just to recap for Goody, so now there's 3 guys left and there's 4 women: Aries, Kat, Janelle, and Jessica. But I guess they had to make it like that so that there can be some type of, Maria has 2 connections even. Like, I didn't see that coming, So
that was interesting to me too, because he almost just got eliminated a week or 2 before that. I was just like, how did you come out with 2 connections now?
I thought for sure that Marvin was gonna make it farther. Brandon, if he would have stayed, right? Do you think he would have done?
Nah.
Do you think he would have done good?
No, I think he's an attractive person, and I think he might have had some connections with some people. So here's what I think actually. What if they are getting people who are compatible, but they're getting eliminated super early? Like, we're just not getting to see
that
their
they were compatible.
that they were compatible, right? Because like first of all, the voting somebody off the first date, it just doesn't really work for me. I know we keep saying some of the same things, but it's just like, look, man, I gotta say it. And then I feel like Tequila has been so mentioned by everyone who's done interviews. It's like obviously she has a personality. All these people love her. Like everybody who has interviewed after. Well, I didn't see Jessica's interview, but it seemed like she just has a lot of people saying how they rock with her or whatever. It's just like, hey, Tequila, yeah, Tequila, much love, da 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 da. Even the people who didn't really care to, I don't know. It seems like okay, it would have been nice to see a little bit more about her because it seems like she actually has relationships with people. You know, like I don't know. I could be wrong about that. My point is if Brandon would have stayed, I don't know. I feel like Herbert should have stayed. I feel
I
like
would have liked to see Herbert stay.
I really thought that I really thought that Chris would have been around for the till the end. I don't know why I thought that. Maybe it's because he had a couple of connections. Yeah, I definitely did think that Marvin was going to stay longer than he did.
I don't know. It's just the bottom three. Just I was just looking today. I said, oh my god, these are the bottom three. Now I'm not surprised at Quentin, but just Phil and Marie just kind of like, okay, all
and
right.
then the other Chris isn't on here, Christopher as well. But you know what's interesting? Yeah, if Brandon would have stayed and they would have just got Habibi right out of there, they would have got Habibi and Red out of there immediately because neither one of them really made any connections.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just like, okay, you guys weren't even really, needing to be here. Like everybody else happened to manage to make a connection other than us, of course, Brandon. But even Chris had some leads there. Like he and Lee were a connection straight off, or in the beginning, and I felt like he said that about somebody else too.
You talking about
Christopher?
Cat. So I think one too.
If they would have just gotten rid of Red and Shaba in the beginning, and Brandon could have stayed, then I think Brandon and Christopher could have gotten much further because there was more to reveal about them. Like we hadn't heard their stories. But then we didn't really, turns out, need to hear Shaba's story and Red's story. It's just like, look, if you're going to come on here and this isn't your real name, maybe you're not ready to love.
Oh my goodness.
Think about that for the future. Oh
my God. Okay, so go back real quick. So Goody says, I like this. Okay, she says every religion should be rooted in spirituality, and every spiritual person should have religious practices. I wish I could put that on the screen, but I don't know what's wrong with StreamYard today.
No.
But anyway, so
then Quentin and Janelle met with Darius, and this is when he said something, and I was like, oh, shut your mouth. So anyway, Darius told Janelle that he thinks Quentin needs someone who is soft, and she actually said she was working on that, but Quentin was like, oh, well, that's, you obviously you've been doing a great job because that's all I see. Now he is telling Lee in their dated the batting cage that he is having a connection with Janelle. What do you think about this whole love triangle here? Because I kind of understand both sides.
So as I was watching it tonight, I felt like, it was decision time, and they do leave people hanging sometimes, but I felt like Lee was like, look, I need to know what's going on because he didn't really spend no time with her at the getaway. But then part of me feels like that's the answer. And I feel like that's the conclusion she came to. And Quentin, of course, was trying to keep his connections because he didn't know. I feel like he's genuinely confused about, well, I can't even say that because he was being very upfront out in the open at the getaway. So I just think sometimes like people don't know how to say stuff, and instead they end up leading people on because they're trying to be nice. But so I don't know, because then there's the whole thing about Janelle and them possibly having an alliance. So I don't know, like I don't know what I think, but I still remain the feeling still remains that I didn't see the connections like we normally do. You know, like
yeah, maybe it was too busy building alliances
it
to
was
be
just conversation. So it was just like I don't really know. I don't really know. Like I think Lee made the right decision though, because I'm not about to wait until it's time to meet you on the bridge, and then all of a sudden you say that no, you know, you don't show up, whatever. Because he, like I said, at the getaway, he made his choice. He made his choice.
Let me tell you, yeah, that's kind of what happened because I was thinking to myself, okay, so first part of me was already playing advocate of like, oh, well, you know, it's a dating show. And like, so what? She's just not getting all the attention she thinks she deserves. But he has the right to date these two women because this is what the show's about, you know? And I had already started playing this idea in my head. Then I realized, okay, she said to him, come to my room. I'm at the top of the stairs. If you can steal away. Then I thought about what that means. If you can get away, right? It's like, what? What? If you can get away, am I the lady? It's morning lady.
Yeah, when you say stuff like that, when you point stuff like that out, that's what I'm talking about. Like
it's weird. It's like, why is she first? Like, who did that? I kind of felt away. Like, you remember that guy? What's her name? Her name wasn't Carmen. It was tag. I can't remember her name, but the guy who like it looked like that she took him hostage a little bit. It was a few seasons back.
Oh, you talking about Cornelius?
Camille and Cornelius. I was like, is that one of these situations where he's being dragged along?
Well, like, I mean, I think they're still together. So clearly we was getting some bad edits.
Well, listen,
on that one.
Here's what I realized about Quentin. He kind of did. I feel like he kind of did make his choice. Then when they flashing forward, he was talking to his cousin about. Oh no, he was talking to the men's lounge about how when his cousin asked Lee what does she want to do and stuff like that, she was like, "Oh, I like to travel and I like to this and that." Mm-hmm. And then Janelle was like, "Oh, we play games, we do this." So he felt more personally, I feel, connected to her, and that's something that I could see. I'm not saying that Lee is superficial or whatever, but it's just like she is kind of naming these things, and maybe her love language is gifts, like receiving gifts, because Chris did buy her those sandals, and I feel like he reached out. I think he said this. He reached out to their mutual friend Muffin,
yeah,
and got some advice from her on what to get her, and he got her some designer sandals. And she really loved them. I remember when he gave her the gift, and she loved it. And I was like, they're just some pink sandals, but he kind of name dropped or whatever and said they were name brand or whatever. So she was really about that. But it's like, I think she's expecting all of this like romance and being swept off her feet. And I think actually, honestly, Chris probably is willing to do that. And so, but I think she's looking for that, and that's not what Quentin is giving. But Chris was interesting because Phil kind of said this. You have to see the person for who they actually are, and maybe not necessarily require them to be something that you expect, because he's not doing that, but that doesn't mean that that's not a good connection. At the same time, I would hate to be telling that story 4 years from now of how we got together. Oh, we were on a dating show and he was chasing some other broad. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't even get in contact with him.
Oh, goodness gracious.
That bitch. Like, we probably don't want you. But it's like, did she just kind of figure that out? Because after she left, and she was saying, like, basically she didn't want to play second fiddle, but he wasn't splitting his time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's really the answer right there. Like, yeah. Then it was too late for her to try to start any new connections at this point. So, you know, she had no choice but to self-eliminate, to be honest, because we would have just watched her get, well, eliminated. I guess who would have been, would she have been eliminated?
Yeah, she would have had to be. Well, no, I don't know if Kat would have been eliminated because Morier had 2 connections and Quinn has 2 connections.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you know.
Morier has 2 connections and Quinn has 2 connections. Phil has 1 connection. There's only 3 men left, right? Am I wrong?
No, he called them, what he called them? He called them the something corny. I didn't even write it.
Phil, Morier,
the Thunder's 3 or something corny like that. So yes,
Phil, Morier, and Quentin, and they are in there. And only 2 people who had 2 connections was Phil. I'm sorry,
Morier.
Morier and Quentin. Yeah. So now Quentin only has 1, and Phil only has 1, and Morier has 2. How interesting is that?
That is crazy to me.
This cast of characters.
I would have never picked
I
Marie.
would never picked them.
If you would have told me,
Who
okay,
are
I'm
the
gonna give
last
you a
three?
multiple
Yeah.
choice question. Somebody's gonna make it to the end. They're gonna be the only one with two connections going into the last
I would have thought it was Marvin.
I'd have been like, yeah, I would have.
I would have thought it was Marvin or perhaps Herbert.
I would have never said Morier. I would have liked to see, you know, coulda, woulda, shoulda, whatever. We'll see what happens now. So we got one more episode, and then we have the reunion. And I just don't know what to even expect of the reunion because I really want to know how long it was when they, you know, between the time they stopped filming and they met for the reunion. That's the number one question I have going into watching these interviews once they start. So
that's really interesting. I was just looking at these people and thinking to myself, like, I would have never chosen the people. I'm not saying it like that. Like,
we thought Marie was out of here like weeks ago.
But like thinking about like even just I remember when
it was a close call for Phil too. We thought both of these guys was about to get out of there.
Look, even Kira, right? Don't you remember everybody at that first mixer saying like white boots, white boots, white boots? Like before they knew like who was who, they were talking about white boots. It's so funny because that's so funny, the irony of that. Anyway, that's a whole other story. I'm just thinking like I would never have picked these people as like the final standing people. But listen, everybody in here is a catcher. I would have liked to know more about Brandon though. Now I'm just looking, I'm like, yeah.
But at the time Brandon needed to go because it was just too much going on at the time. But in retrospect, you know,
Leanne looked real strong back there. I'm just looking at her arm. She looked like she looks really swole back there. You see Leanne?
Yeah, I can see Leanne.
Woo! I will not want to run into her.
So funny.
Bad day. But everybody, you know, I don't know. Everybody is interesting in like, I would have actually thought Unique would have made it towards the end.
Right. Me too.
Anyway, there's a lot of interesting stuff happening here. But here's another thing, and then you know, I'm not going to keep you all night. But here's what I thought was funny. This is all like an experiment, right? Like this, I hadn't seen this being done necessarily. So all of these dating shows are basically experiments, but I guess they hadn't considered what would happen if there were no connections, because it seems like that's what got them to like fishing, and perhaps it was when they recognized that they started to change up formats and stuff. Like, we got to make something happen. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm just making this up, guys.
I mean, yeah, because I can see not cast, but the people who watch the show be mad that there are no connections. Like, yeah, we want to see connections, but like in the grand scheme of things, a reality show, like a real show, probably would be one where nobody had a connection. Like that would be something that could really happen.
Well, it's almost it.
Then we wouldn't be talking about alliances and stuff.
If it wasn't for Phil and Aries, I feel like they carried it for a minute as far as connections were concerned, because I literally was like, there aren't any connections. But I was like, oh, but Phil and Aries got something. Then later on, I started to see Janelle and Quentin had something. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't even see none of these other ones, to be honest with you. I didn't see that Chris was attracted to Lee. We never got to see Quentin really and Lee like in their beginning stages, which is another thing, because I guess she thought that they really had like something, because James actually thought that she was gonna cry at the batting. Lee, I was like, I don't think so.
I did too for a second. It was the way that she looked at some point.
Yeah, I thought that's just maybe like her regular facial expressions. Like,
yeah, like it was like a splitting second. I didn't think she was gonna do it the whole time, but you know, I was like, oh, okay. But then I was like, oh no, maybe I didn't see that or whatever. Blondie Monique said, oh yeah, the guy said that Unique needs to heal. That's right. That's why they kept saying, like, I just be confused about some of the stuff that they say, because we didn't see some of the, you know, we don't see everything. So, you know, just like when Phil said that Aries was acting out of her trauma and stuff like that, or not trauma, but like out of some old past situations and something like that. And I was just like, well, I just want to see what's making you say that, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, just because she said that about past experiences doesn't mean that she's judging off of that, you know what I mean?
But it was convenient for him to reach for.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, buddy, okay.
It was real convenient for him to reach for that, and I'm not blaming him for that because sure, there's some validity there as far as like, sure, you didn't do anything to her for her to think that you're going to be having like you didn't do anything to her for her to have the reaction of like pulling back as far as what happened to her in the past. However, she's pulling back because she's trying to protect herself from something that she's already experienced. It doesn't have to necessarily do with another person, just that she had another human contact situation where she learned something. It's not anything personal. But I think he kind of took it personally because it seemed like after that he wanted to protect himself emotionally. Like I could tell they were really feeling each other. So
yeah, and I mean, usually when people pull back, it's calls for communication. And so the thing is, I think that he's not telling everything. I just think he's not telling anything. Like I said, how he could get to Tommy and then have Tommy ask him about his situation, the experience, and then he says, what does she mean by that? And you're like, well, I don't even know. What she's talking about finance? Oh, I don't even know. Like, how do you not know? Why didn't you ask?
He knows. I think he doesn't want to address it. All right, let me just go ahead. Let me just go ahead and be your mother because that's what everybody's here to see. I'm just going to assume everything, and we're going to say that I might be on something or that I'm right. Here's the deal. It's possible that Phil, as nice as he is, does have some stability issues, which would make so much sense as to why he hates that word. Because it's like he's so sick of hearing the story that's being told to him. Now, it would also make sense that his peeps were like, oh, is that going to be an issue for her? Like because that's the reality. And then another piece is that if he were financially just like sound, wouldn't he then lead with that? Then we see a clip as the episode is ending where I don't know, production has put this all together for us, so we don't really know what's happening. We're in the Matrix. But it looked as if he was saying admittedly that like, that's right, I'm a comedian and I'm not making any money. He didn't say it like that, but it's just like, is that
okay, so I saw that part and I really thought he was telling a story. Is he saying that he's a stand-up comedian now?
Story. I don't know. My thinking is like they tried to make it look like he was admitting that sometimes his work is not lucrative, but we don't know because traditionally we could imagine that things happen in sequence, but with this production,
we don't know
situation. We don't know what's happening. We don't know left from right, up from down. We're spinning in the Matrix. So I don't really know what he said, but I will say this: it's just like, why hasn't he said that already? It seems like, I mean, I know they have to wait till these episodes air. So
Ajoba says Phil was such a jerk. And then she says, why is this the first time we're hearing he's a comedian? Y'all, I feel like please tell me he was telling a story. He was not for them that he was, I gotta go back and watch it now. She said his statement in confessional was very insensitive. And Blondie said in an interview, Lee said she didn't want someone in her line of business. I didn't even see that. I would think that they both would make a good couple because of that. They both know like how demanding that career is and what they got to do. I didn't hear her say that. Dang.
They both said that. I didn't hear that either, but they both said how similar they were. And I'm like, is this something that was overlooked? Because Lee, okay, look, here's her quote. He dropped the ball with me. Mm-hmm. She told him face to face that he frustrated her, which I thought claps for that because a lot of times it's just easier to ghost somebody. Like I could never see myself saying that when I was dating. Like, oh my gosh, you're so frustrating to me. I just wouldn't be there. I'll be like, missed call. Like, yeah, he frustrated me. That's why I'm not there. He's got to figure that out or not. We'll never see each other again. But like that was my whole MO. But like the fact that she showed up and was telling him, like communicating, like you're frustrating me. And then she even dropped some major statements like, she basically said they had a shaky connection and she asked him at one point, do you really care? She was saying it in a way of like, it makes me wonder, do you really care? But it did look like he responded. I was like, oh,
this is what I'm saying about that. The answer is there. when as soon as he started responding to Janelle when she was talking about like giving that my man energy, that was the answer right there. When he would acquiesce to whatever it was she was doing on the weekend, and then to have to ask. I mean, he's been doing this the whole show. He even when they had that friend date, and he was like, I ghosted her or whatever. I didn't call her back. Like he's been doing this the whole time. So like that's what I'm saying. Like the answer is right there. But sometimes as women, I don't know what we be thinking about because we be like, well, I think because sometimes we look at the potential, we be like, well, I'm just gonna see. He didn't say it, so that's maybe not what he meant. And a lot of people operate like that, but no, these answers were there this whole time, and he, I think she did the right thing in self-elimination. I feel like she could have pivoted earlier because it's been apparent the whole time, but it was just that whole thing of, well, he didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to move on that. But sometimes you gotta just look at what's not being said and be up out of there.
Like what's interesting? I think that she gave it all that she could. Like she stayed as long as one could stay. In my opinion, like when she left at first, I was questioning her. Like, why is she leaving? She's not writing the process out. But it's like he was playing a little bit, and even when he was shocked that she was gone, it was like, yeah, you fumbled because if you really wanted her, you would have split your time. You didn't even split your time. It wasn't even like she was getting time. And I get it that these guys are not like, used to having multiple connections and stuff like that, or so they say. But it didn't seem like he was capable of doing that. But like if some other person could get your attention, then
that's the person. Like that's what I'm saying. Like if before the getaway, he was showing these things, and now added all up together, it's just like he clearly was sending that message, And sometimes guys don't be wanting to be straightforward, and they get themselves into predicaments where people feel like they got led on because they just didn't want to come out and say it because they didn't want to hurt nobody's feelings or whatever. But that's what it seems like to me. Like he must have been like saying something else along the way because I see all these instances of he's showing you right here. You know what I mean? But yeah. I think she left and I think she should have left. She should have self-eliminated. And I think that he did feel some kind of way about it. But she said, Blondie Monique said she says that she's not normally attracted to that type of guy. She said it during the show, and she also said it on Crystal XO. I missed that. Ajoba said that she said that during the show too. And then Ajoba said, I
wonder what type of guy she needs. Like maybe the type that doesn't make a definitive decision and say right away, like, this is what I'm thinking. Or like, because he seems a little like shy and boyish.
That's what I'm saying. If you're not the type of guy that is not straightforward and direct, okay, I can imagine this. I'm not a guy, so I don't know. This is just what I think as a woman. Okay. Now, I think that guys do like attention, but if somebody likes them and they have to tell them that they are not at the same point with them or that they picking somebody else, that conversation is going to probably be one, if they're not a direct person, avoid it at all costs. And maybe they'll just get the hint. You know what I'm saying? And then a lot of people end up like looking kind of crazy because am I going to take a hint or do I want you to tell me straight out? Like I may be a direct person, but if the person that I'm talking to is not a direct person, I could be waiting forever for that answer and going on several situations where somebody's ghosted me or somebody's responding to another female in front of me and not really giving me time and not really answering my question. And, like, so if they're not that person, you can't make them do that. It's like you're just either going to get frustrated and you're going to leave them alone, or you're going to get frustrated to the point where you make them say it. And I feel like this situation, he wasn't being upfront because his actions showed clearly that he wasn't, paying attention to her like he should have been if he was interested in her. So I don't know.
That was a great understanding that I just got from that. But it's so funny to me because that's one of the reasons why I do like this show is because we're seeing it happen in an expedited way. Whereas it doesn't take months for these things to happen, but you're getting to see it right then and there. Because I think in a regular dating situation, even if he wasn't dating someone else, it seems like he's so oblivious to someone's needing to be pursued that it's like she could stick around for a long time waiting for him to like catch him.
Well, he might have been able to focus more on her if he wasn't consumed with Janelle. Like, who knows? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, but like, look at that. I would hate to have to tell that story to people. How did y'all meet? Oh
my goodness. Well, Joba says that sorry, I'm messing up. Joba says, "Don't worry, Lee. Quentin is playing himself, not you, boo." And I mean, that's the way it usually ends after the seasons on the show. Ready to Love does not have that many couples. It's not even a handful. You know what I'm saying? So, I think
speaking of non-couples, can I be real? I don't see Moriah and Jessica together.
But his cousin said they look good together.
Well, she was just saying a lot of stuff, but she also called her uppity, okay? Mm-hmm. And then she said that she liked Kat a couple of times on that date. As far as we saw, she was like, I like you. I like her. Oh, she said that she was more, I don't even remember what she said. Did I write it down? She said something about Kat, like she felt like she was she seemed a whole lot easier. I don't know what that could be taken a few.
I mean, but we know that they already vibe on,
Well, we know that she called Jessica uppity, and then she said she seems a whole lot easier. So I would imagine those two statements are connected, as opposed and when you're thinking about describing two people that you just met, like you said, this one's a whole lot easier, and you said this one's uppity. So that's what I'm drawing, right? Yeah. And then the idea that like Moriah with his two connections, how did this happen, man? He is a lucky draw. Okay, take him to the casino with you. Hey, Moriah, let's go to Vegas. You know what I'm saying? Get some money. He really, I mean, like he really comes back strong here. Now he has to like check Jessica's temperature. They talked about the whole Chris situation. When I look back on that clip, Chris, look, here's what you can't deny. You somehow disrespected this lady. You came all the way and showed your whole entire ass on camera. Like everyone saw it, all your family, and I just saw that nice interview you did. I actually had a whole different perception of him before that season or before that episode aired. All your village back at home.
A lot of people did. Oh my God.
All the elders, and they didn't raise you that way. But it's so funny because
you just say all your village back at home.
Yeah, they talked about all the things. They talked about all the things him and his
sister off the table.
Him and his sister talked about all the things you have to go through just to bring somebody back to get approved for you to marry them. And he was all, look, Chris know what I'm talking about. All those people back in your village, all of your homies, all of your elders are looking at the way that you said this thing to this lady. And maybe, listen, maybe I'm not going to say he doesn't care because he cares. He cares. He wants people to like him. He's like, he could run for office type of thing. Like he wants all the approval. And I know that means something to him, but the fact that it managed to slip out of his mouth, it's like, we can't deny that that's a part of who you are now. Like even that's how people know you.
Okay. So I'm going to say this. And I'm not
inside of your chest waiting to
I'm not caping for Chris, but listen, there,
Come on.
I don't even know.
Super DJ, come to his rescue. Come on.
No, I'm just saying, right? Like I can totally see how a person could be pushed to do that, and if it's in you, it's coming out. So I agree with that.
Listen, I'm not saying that he was wrong. My whole problem with him at this point is that he's out here campaigning as if he doesn't believe what he
needs
said.
To say less.
Right? Like, dude, we know what you believe. Like, you said it right then and there. And if you were just more honest about that, then it wouldn't really even matter. Like, sure, he was disrespectful. But if you basically are saying, like, well, this is what I believe, and I have a reason to believe that, and stand behind that, that's one thing. But you can't just let all of that slip out of your mouth on camera and be like, I don't know where that came from. Because it's like, come on, dog. It came from your heart. It came from the inside of you. You believe that. Like we all saw it.
He was wrong. He was wrong.
I mean, look.
But I think it's funny because like he only has himself to blame. You know what I'm saying? And but I have seen that happen before. And I mean, only he could have avoided it. You know, he shouldn't have let himself get that mad. So, but yeah, so going back, Blondie Monique says that about Quentin and Lee, we wanted them together because we thought they looked good together. I thought they looked really good together.
Oh, I can see the comments now.
Okay, bet.
I think.
Let me see. Oh yeah, that did pop up here. Okay, so I can stop looking at my phone. And then okay. Jova says, I like how Marie's cousin called Jessica a bit uppity. It made me chuckle. It made me laugh too, because I was just like, oh goodness, that is funny. She called Kat more
open. She did. She called Kat more open. I think Kat's more open. And here's some of the subtleties that I got. It seemed like Morier is not really willing to have children, or he doesn't really see that for himself. It seems like he's kind of out there with the spirituality thing because his cousin brought that up too. And it seems like it's like, you know, not that she was trying to sell him, but it seems like there was some give there where she was trying to warn him or something. But, and I also, these family members really did come through with the, like, pointing out of like, is that going to jive, or is this going to work if this person is expecting this? And even Phil had to say out loud that, like, I don't know if what I bring to the table is enough for her. And so I think there's something to exploring that too, because it's like, that's the reason why you want to be yourself in a situation, because sooner or later that's going to come out. You wanted to come out 3 years later when, you know, now you're talking about getting divorced or breaking up. You wasted the last 3 years. Might as well just let it all hang out now. Let people who know who you really are so they can make a choice and you can move on if you have to, you know?
I'm interested in both of their post-interview in post-season interviews.
Yeah. I want to see who's together now. Like, did these couples actually make it? And they're not even really couples. And that's what I'm really saying to myself. Like, everybody tried to make this lemonade real hard. They brought all the ingredients and they just didn't have no ice. Like, it was like, you know, it's not sad to watch or whatever, but like, they really tried. A lot of them really tried.
Well, we're going to see. Look, we got one more episode until the reunion. So, but the next episode, well, no, we got 2 more episodes, right? Because the next episode is when they meet the family, but then after that is choosing day. So we got 2 more episodes before we get to figure this all out. So.
Oh, let me say this one thing. There was this one, and it was just so jarring to hear it. Quentin says,
so jarring.
Leaves out the thing, like out of their date. He says to his cousin, he's like, yeah, I do really wish she was a little bit younger. And I know that
I didn't see that part.
Oh my gosh.
Who said that?
I wish he was a little bit younger. He said that to his cousin because here's why. I mean, he didn't say it because of like her looks or anything like that. He said it because he wants to have children, but his cousin had brought up, well, like, what if he needs some time? Now he kind of the way it was delivered to us with the footage being presented the way that it was, it seemed like he's ready to get married. Janelle has a timeline if she wanted to get engaged by the end of the year, top of the next year, and he seemed like he was on board with that. But when his cousin came, it seemed like Darius, he was like saying like, well, what if he needs some time? And Janelle's basically like, I'm willing to adopt because really, you know, realistically, I'm 41 and we don't know, right? Like, and so then, but it seems like I don't know if he was really. We didn't get to see what Lee thought about that, but I do know him and Lee are closer in age.
Yeah,
how old Lee is. I can't remember that right now.
She was 30. She's either 33 or 34. I thought. She might have been the youngest one though. She might be 30. I don't know. I think she was the youngest one. Yeah, when Phil and Aries were talking about with the cousin, and well, where were they at when she was talking about that? I think they were on the bench, and he was telling her stuff that he wanted to do, and she was like, "Well, I got friends for that."
Oh yeah, Aries did the whole switch up. Aries was like, she was like, yeah, I like, he was basically like, I like to do this. I like to go to comedy shows. I like to do this. I like to do that. And she kind of like shut down a little bit. And he picked up on that. I thought that was good. But just, you know, she didn't have to explain what her position was. But at the same time, you know, it didn't seem like he was sensitive to, you know, whatever.
Oh, Kira was the youngest.
explanations that she might have had about whatever happened. Because like he basically said, like, oh, whoever she went through that in the past, that wasn't me. But it's like, no, she's identifying a need of security level. There's a few different types of security. There's like financial security. There's like physical, like, are you gonna like run away from a fight type of security?
I need to know that too. Yeah.
You know, I need to know that as well. I mean, I do. And then there's the security, like emotionally, of like, are you gonna cheat on me? Are you gonna, you know, can I tell you a secret and you not go back and tell all of your family and everybody knows, but I don't know they know? Like, there's so many different types of security. Like, even friends have security. Definitely, like, the thing that comes to mind is like a boss and an employee. There's a sense of security there. There are certain things that I hold that like my people bring to me, and I'm like, I'm not telling nobody that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a thing. It's just like, you have to understand what levels of security you have with your friends, with your trusted ones, people who give you information, who you trust. And that's a level of security. But somehow Phil took offense, and being your mom, I'm going to go ahead and say, because I am your mother, that I think he took it poorly because he's doing his own thing right now, I guess. And he's just, I don't know if he's like out here trying to make it. He's a supply chain analyst. I don't even understand how that got under his name if he's not.
June Murray says she looked up the qualifications for supply chain analyst salary. A BA, lots of people skills, math, logistics, is $63,000.
Okay. Well, I mean, it seems like he would be cool. He dresses well. He seems like a good guy.
Shout out to June Murray for that.
Hey, thank you, June Murray. And right on time, because I was just reading the words. What is a supply chain analyst? Like, okay, what kind of supply chain? Like, that could really be code word for drug dealer. A lot of stuff could be code word for drug dealer, though. I'm not calling him a drug dealer, but I'm just saying, like, supply chain analyst. I've never seen that even like on a business card. But anyway, but if you look at some of the stuff, partnership manager, like what? Okay.
Yeah, I will listen. We know some of those names are fabricated just to be what they are on there. We don't know which ones, but I've seen them play in the past.
Yeah.
So,
you know, I know nobody's judging anybody, but it was clear that he was not liking that one term, security, and it seemed like he got his feelings hurt. And Aries was not, you know, she didn't say anything hurtful, in my opinion. It's just that she was finally like, okay, look, we have this attraction and that's all well and good, but let's talk about this income. Like, how often do you get paid? Bi-weekly? Like, that's a real conversation, yeah. That's a real conversation. Do you get paid bi-weekly? What's up? It is. It's a real conversation. I can understand. I can really understand. Just like really, like truly, like that's a real conversation. I feel like I've had that conversation before in my past.
Oh my goodness.
I do. Like, how often do you get paid?
I mean, I found out that information too, but I don't generally have to ask for it. Like, it just comes up in conversation. Like, you can find all that information out. That's why I want to know how deep they got with the conversation as far as the finances, because like, obviously it's none of my business, but like, it just seemed like he wasn't trying to touch that subject. So I don't know that they ever really got into it, because that's why she was asking. You know what I'm saying? That's what I took away from it. But Joba says, that's the Aries I know from watching her podcast the last couple of years. She's big on time with her girlfriends. What is her podcast?
Well, it does say right here she's a software sales manager and a podcaster. So she does this. I'm gonna look that up. But she, you know, software sales manager. I feel like that's more straight to the point. Like, you know what a realtor is, you know what an entrepreneur is, you know when somebody says software sales manager, I feel like I talk to those people. Like, she might work for Asana or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. She's a manager. She's managing someone. You know what I mean? Like, I can see that.
Joe said, Aries surprised me all season long with her connections, but in the end, she's going to think about her sons. Absolutely. That's why stability is necessary. I don't see why Phil doesn't get it. Yeah. I mean, because he has a kid too, right?
He does.
Yeah, so.
He does, but he's made a couple of statements here over the past couple of weeks that have left me a little bit perplexed, because it's like, even when he had his interview with, I guess it was Crystal, he was he wasn't beating around the bush, but he said something to the effect of, like, he was talking about that word stability in that interview, and he was talking about how, well, it kind of depends on what people's needs are. He's like, because things cost money, and haircuts cost money, and these types of things like this. But it's just like, he was, for some reason, I got this idea that he was making the point that I have enough for basic needs. Mm-hmm. and it depends on what your level of needs is.
I mean, that is the question. That's what I'm saying. I want to know how deep they talk, because like, is she, like, he doesn't know if she's expecting him to come in and do. I don't think she's trying to ask him for his money, but at the end of the day, like, we're not getting any younger. We need to make sure that everything's going on the up and up going forward. Like, tell me what it looks like. I guess that's what she was at. And I mean, that's like, a fast track dating situation too. So, but I mean, if that's the only issue standing in, if you got the connection and that's the only issue, like, get down and tell her what she needs to, like, have the conversation.
No, okay, let's talk about this for a second. Thank you so much, June, for bringing that information up. Let's just go back a couple comments. Let's talk about this, okay? Let's just have a real conversation, everyone. Okay, now we are in 2023. $63,000 is a fair amount of money. If you're okay with that, and that's where you're stopping, and that's what you make, and that's that, it's like a take it or leave it kind of thing. We don't know where he is in his career. Is he trying to, like, move up? Is he trying to do side hustles? Is he trying to start all the way over and living on savings or something like this? Like, we don't know, because those conversations haven't been aired on the show. I will have to do some digging and see if he goes into depth of about what he does and what he aspires to do, because we haven't really heard a lot in that regard, as far as, like, I'm going to take this to the top. Like, I'm going to sell, like, you could work for Dunder Mifflin or whatever from The Office or whatever. It's just like, you want to be the top paper sales guy. I'm selling 40 reams of paper a second. Like, that could be your deal. Or if you want to be a comedian, or you could just be like, I'm chilling.
Yeah.
I've got a job. I've got some health insurance. I'm not doing more than this. And this is where I'll be. You know what I'm saying? And if you need more than that, then, deuces. I don't know where he is, though. I'm not saying this is his words. But $63,000 is not nothing to shake a stick at, but it's also like, if that's where you're just saying,
depending on where you live at, though,
if you're just hanging it up there, like, I'm good for life, I'm set. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the conversation that I haven't seen. And this is also just like probably a very average figure. We don't really know what he's making. I'm just saying.
She says that they can make up to 80.
I'm just saying that it depends, because
okay, you know what? I just looked it up. I am following her.
I haven't heard his side of what security means, why that term is, irritating him or whatever. And I'm also saying that he never used that word. But it seems like it's bothersome to him. That's what it seems like. That's what I'm picking up. And I don't know what his, like, sort of like stance is. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. She doesn't seem like she knows it either. That's why she's asking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, okay, it's called Bold Black Girl. I just realized that I looked it up. I must have found out in the beginning of the season, because I am following her. So I'm gonna have to definitely check her podcast out. But yeah, so I don't know.
Very basically, this is all I'll say. She has 2 jobs and he has 1.
She probably got more than 2 things that she
probably
jobs, but probably. Yeah, I mean that's something to talk about. you know.
I don't know. And I don't know that to be true either, but I just think that's probably what they're starting to see. Even though I do feel like I love to see the attraction, the connection, but I guess it's just not all sugar sticks and rainbows out here because
no, not at all. Not at all.
People got bills and responsibilities and all that. Anyway.
Blondie says she read that this is a good time to be in that business. Okay.
What?
He said it's getting on his nerves.
Yeah, he's not feeling that word.
He did feel frustrated. But I mean, you getting to know people, you're trying to date. That is something that she needs to know. So just go ahead and just talk about it.
And also, I can understand.
Like honest or open about it.
And I also can understand, just like I can understand how Lee was like, I don't want to play second fiddle, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like, I can understand how Phil also feels too, like, or I don't know what he haven't really said, but I can understand if he felt like, well, this is only a part of me. This is only what I do. And you don't even know what else I have to offer. Right.
That's what I'm saying. If you're trying to make plans with somebody and they're telling you what they need to know, like what are the thoughts in your head around it? Like at least share that with me or whatever. Like, you shared the past. You said that it wouldn't have been good 4 months ago. 4 months ago isn't really that long time ago. So like, what have you in place in case you have
that's a great point.
Because 4 months is not a year.
You
know what I'm saying?
Season is 3 months.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, she's just probably asking for better understanding. And it seems like he's not trying to like be completely open in that department because she wouldn't have the questions. But anyway, that's kind of what happens in dating. You gotta don't know what to share with people, when to share with people. But we'll see how it plays out because she is also an Aries and she's not about to sit there and keep asking you the same thing and you're not giving the answer. Yeah. She's going to be like, all right, I'm over it. So
I feel like she kind of got her answer, and that's kind of why she probably pulled back. And it was so funny when he asked her too, like to confirm. He didn't say it like that, but it almost was like a court thing, like just to confirm, Your Honor, are you pulling back? And she look, her arm was up on the thing, like it almost felt like this. And I didn't know she wasn't like this, but it almost felt she was like, "Yep, that's what you're getting. I'm pulling back." Right, and I mean she didn't do all that, but it was just like, oh, okay, like yeah, like yeah. But I understand it though. It's like it's a pretty important thing as far. I mean,
it is what it is, and I'm pretty sure that she was probably very clear about what she wanted to know and all of that. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out though, but. I'm looking forward to the next episode because the fellas get to meet the ladies. I thought this episode wasn't that interesting until the end, but the next episode looks like it might be a little bit more interesting because they're going to meet the ladies' family or friends.
I can't wait to see this. I really can't actually.
But we ending this with Moriah got 2 connections, Kat and Jessica.
Like, what? How does that happen?
Phil ends up obviously with his 1 connection, and then Quentin has 1 connection because Lee self-eliminated.
Because Lee rolled out. Lee was not ready to be like, like I can't even imagine him picking her at the end. She's just waiting around to be let down.
So we're gonna be wondering I guess we're gonna wait to see whose family really gets in there. So that anyway. I'm just looking forward to that episode so we can get closer to what actually happened when it's all over.
Yeah, I gotta see this reunion, even if it's a little odd that they already filmed it. I gotta see this reunion though, for real.
Yeah, I heard it was something. So we'll see. But that's all I have to say. I mean, next week we'll see what happens.
I can't. I'm gonna stop saying I can't wait because I can wait. It's not that great, but
especially if it starts off like this episode started off, because I actually found myself my attention was somewhere else for like a good 2.5 minutes, and I said, "Oh my God, I'm watching the show." So I don't know. I hope the next episode isn't like that.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, thanks guys for joining us. You'll see us again next week. I don't know what we're gonna do for Thursday, but something great will be there.
Something there, yeah.
But I'll definitely see you live next week, and we're gonna talk about this show. Okay.
Yes, get in the comments below. Yes, I want to piggyback on what you said. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Comment below. Let us know what we missed. And I'm actually going to, after I get over here, I got to do my Love Experiment recap for the last episode that just aired on Tuesday. So if y'all not into Love Experiment, definitely check that out, because Ready to Love has a new show that's coming. With you guys already know this. Ready to Move, and I'm gonna be comparing it to Love Experiment, because by the time that comes on, we'll be farther into Love Experiment. So,
and I saw what do you call it? I saw let me steer this. I saw a ad for it, and it is basically like, who's ready to move? Would you move here to Louisiana, right? Sorry, I just lost it. Would you move here to New Orleans? And that's what it's kind of based off to, because she knows a lot of people, a lot of bachelors in New Orleans, and so I'm
all of the men are from New Orleans.
I suppose, like, that's what I saw on the little ad for the show.
Okay,
because this lady, she was in, like I said, she was in.
Yeah, you told me she was
Southern Charm, Louisiana. Mm-hmm. What is her name? I feel like it's
Tamika or something like that.
Tamika, yes. And I don't know if she's still married to the guy that she was married to, but it was like this whole to do. Anyway, she used to be a journalist, and I guess now she's a matchmaker. She knows all these bachelors, and so that's what I saw that the show's about. Like, would you make a move to New Orleans to
okay, that's going to be interesting. That's an interesting.
Yeah, I'll bet there are. And
I don't really know anybody who actually moved to New Orleans, so that's interesting too. Like, people move to other parts of that area, but I don't know anybody to just be like, I'm about to move to New Orleans. So that's
there's a bunch of successful men there. I could see why, or not like successful men, but like if it's like really, I mean, I've heard some rough stuff about New Orleans, about how people grew up there. But again, that might have been, a long time ago. But
well, yeah, I mean, we'll see.
New Orleans is a very historically amazing place. So, but apparently, there's a lot of bachelors down there that, hey, look, if you want to find love, are you willing to move here? And I think that's what this is based off of. But we're gonna watch it when it airs. I think in October.
Yeah, I definitely am gonna watch it. So anyway, that's all I have for tonight about that. I'm gonna do my recap for that. Probably upload it tomorrow because I'm gonna film it tonight. But yeah, and I'm about to go find something to eat as usual, because I don't know why I wait until I go live to be like, okay, now I gotta eat. I should be eating before I get on here, but that's neither here nor there. It's none of y'all business. So do you have any final words?
No, I'm just excited. I'm excited to have this conversation. I'm glad everybody's so engaged like we are, and I'll see y'all next week. That's all I have to say.
Yes, we will see y'all next week. Peace, everybody.